What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out the Fafrees F20 electric bicycle. So this is a folding step-through electric bicycle that's powered by a 250 watt motor that's located in the rear wheel here. We have 20-inch wheels and we also have 3-inch wide tires. So we don't get those massively fat tires that we see with other bikes, but I do prefer these kind of tires for in-town riding. We also have mechanical disc brakes on the front and on the back and a front suspension. With that being said, let's start by doing a bit of an unboxing just so I can show you how the bike comes packed in the box and what you have to do to get this ready and out on the road. Alright, so this bike comes in a pretty small box, one of the smallest boxes that I've seen for an e-bike, and the box is also not that heavy, and of course that has a lot to do with the fact that the bike itself is not that heavy. So this only weighs just over 25 kilos. So it is much easier to carry this bike compared to other e-bikes that I got to try in the past, other similar looking e-bikes I'm gonna say. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is also a folding bike. So the handlebar here folds and the bike folds in half. So it is fairly easy to carry this in your car's trunk or to store it somewhere because it becomes quite small. Now, when you take this out of the box, the bike is also fully assembled. I haven't actually seen that with any other e-bike out there. So you basically don't have to do anything. You just take this out of the box and it is ready to go on the road. Taking a look at the bike itself, well, this looks a bit more unique than most other e-bikes available on the road. And of course, that has a lot to do with the color of the seat and the second seat that we have on the back there. Now, that second seat on the back there, maybe you can carry a child there or something like that, or someone that's pretty small, but that second person is not gonna have a place to keep their feet. So I don't think anybody is actually gonna carry any passengers on the back of this bike. Not to mention that we only have a 250 watt motor, so you don't have that much power to carry passengers as well. I was also quite impressed by the finish of this bike. So the paint job on it is better than most other bikes that I got to try up until now. Not to mention that nothing on this bike makes any noise. So even if you go over uneven terrain, the bike is totally quiet. So I really like that about this bike. On the back, on the right hand side here, we have a 7-gear Shimano shifter. This is an entry-level Shimano shifter. However, shifting gears up and down, it's done pretty easily. Now, because we do have gears, of course, you can lower the gear if you come to a hill, for example, and it's going to be a bit easier to climb hills or any inclines that you're going to get to. Talking about inclines and hills, so we have a 250 watt motor, and of course, 250 watt motor is not going to have that much power. So when you do come to a steeper incline, you do have to put a lot of effort into pedaling. If you would have a motor that's like a 750 watt motor, it would be much easier. So this one you do have to put a lot of effort if you come to climb any hills basically. Now, if you're riding on a flat surface, the bike has plenty of power, so you don't actually have to put that much effort into pedaling, so it can maintain that 25 kilometers an hour no problem. But if you do come to a steeper hill, you do have to do a bit of work. Let me show you a quick example just so you can see how the bike performs when you go to a steeper hill. Alright, we have a quick climbing test. I'm not sure if you can actually see the hill up there. So it is a fairly steep hill. We are in gear number 1 and assistance level 3. That's the maximum level of assistance. So I'm just going to show you how the bike climbs up this hill. So the motor is definitely assisting me. But now I do have to put a lot of effort into pedaling. So yes, you can definitely climb hills, but it's not gonna be easy. If you don't like pedaling that much and putting that much effort, well, this bike may not necessarily be for you, because you do have to put quite a bit of effort when climbing hills as steep as this one. For example, if I accelerate to the throttle here, the bike doesn't really have any power, so it's gonna stop somewhere around here. So that's how this bike would climb a hill with a 250 watt motor. And as you've seen for yourself, you do have to put a bit of effort into pedaling, mostly when you're going uphill, but that was kind of to be expected from a 250 watt motor. Alright, on the other side of the rear wheel, we have the mechanical disc brake. We have the same disc brakes on the front and on the back, and the stopping power from this bike is good enough, I'm gonna say, mostly considering that the top speed for this bike is only 25 kilometers an hour. I'm also happy to say that the brakes don't actually make any noise whenever you're braking. With other e-bikes that I've tried in the past, they do squeak a lot, but that's not the case case with this one. So very quiet whenever you're braking. On the left hand side there we also have the kickstand. The kickstand is mostly made out of plastic, but it does work quite well. So whenever the bike is on the kickstand, it doesn't seem to fall or move, even if it's windy wherever you are. Taking a look at the seat, well, the seat is a bit wider than most other e-bikes out there. We also have lots of padding on the seat, and we also have some springs at the bottom. So whenever you're riding over uneven terrain, the seat will definitely help so you're comfortable enough. Now, the seat is also foldable, so it folds like this so you can remove the battery pack from underneath. But having this folding mechanism for the seat will also add a bit of play to the seat. So whenever you're actually sitting on the bike, you do feel like the seat is moving a bit, and there is nothing that you can do so you can actually stop that feeling. So I wish this folding mechanism would be different, or it wouldn't exist at all. Of course, you can also adjust the seat in height, so it goes very low and very high. So anyone can actually ride on this bike. Talking about adjustments, you can also adjust the handlebar in height. This is a feature that I really like on bikes because it makes the riding position much more comfortable than those bikes where you actually have to lean onto. So great that we have adjustable in height handlebar, but I'm not a fan of that extra movement, extra play that we get for the rear seat because of that folding mechanism. The battery pack takes about 7 hours to fully charge, so you're basically gonna have to charge this overnight, and on one charge you can get somewhere between 60 to 80 kilometers of riding. Now, of course, that really depends how you're riding, where you're riding, if you're riding up steeper hills, if you're riding on a flat surface, the temperature outside. So the range that you're gonna get on one charge, of course, will depend on many factors, but you should easily be able to achieve 50 to 60 kilometers on one charge. Moving on to the pedals, well, the pedals are made of a combination of plastic and metal, and they're also foldable. And of course, that really helps whenever you're folding the bike because everything becomes a bit smaller. Talking about folding, the folding mechanism is right here in the center. It is a very sturdy folding mechanism, I'm gonna say, so whenever you have the bike opened, it doesn't move in any way or anything like that. So a very sturdy folding mechanism, and also quite easy to actually fold this bike. Moving on to the front of the bike, well, here we have a light, and I also forgot to mention that we have a rear light. So we have a front and rear light. The rear light here is bright enough to be seen during the day, and that also acts as a brake light. So whenever you are pressing the brake levers, that rear light will also light up a bit more, and that is visible during the day really good as well. The same goes for the front light. So this is visible during the day, and of course at night it will light up the path ahead of you really well. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we also have a front suspension. Now the front suspension on this bike is also a bit stiff, so it's almost like you don't have a front suspension. Of course, if you're jumping over bigger bumps, it will help a bit, but other than that, you don't really feel that you have a front suspension, so that could have been improved a bit in my opinion. And of course, on the front there we also have that mechanical disc brake as we have on the back, and we talked about that a bit earlier. Moving on to the handlebar, well, I have to say that I really love the grips on this bike. Not to mention the color of the grips actually matches the color of the seat and the color of the second seat, so it does make the bike look a bit different, I'm gonna say. The brake levers here are made out of plastic, nothing really special about those. We have a mechanical bell right here, we have the Shimano shifter right here on the right hand side, and we also have a throttle. So with this bike you can either pedal and the bike will assist you, or you can use the throttle if you don't want to pedal at all. As I said, the top speed for this bike is 25 kilometers an hour, so if you're riding on a flat surface, you can just hold that throttle down and the bike will go by itself. It also has cruise control, so if you hold that pressed for, I don't know, about 5 seconds or so, the bike enables the cruise control, and then you don't actually have to hold the throttle. The bike will just keep whatever speed you're doing. So I'm pretty happy with the handlebar. Here it's nice and wide, so overall comfortable riding position. On the left hand side here we also have the screen. The screen is visible during the day, so even if it's a super sunny day like today, you can clearly see the screen. Of course, the screen will show you how much battery power you have, the speed that you're doing, the odometer, and all that. Alright, so let me quickly show you how you'd ride this bike. So we basically have the power button right here at the top. You hold this pressed for about 3 seconds or so, and then the bike powers on. And from these two buttons here, you can change modes. So we'll go in assistance level 3. 1, 2, 3. That is the maximum level of assistance, and that will take us to 25 kilometers an hour. So you can ride this bike in a couple of ways. First of all, you can accelerate to the throttle here, so you don't actually have to pedal. Let me show you how that works. So you just accelerate, and the bike goes by itself. It will go up to 25 kilometers an hour. Or you can start pedaling, and then the bike will assist you. So let me show you how that works. You can probably hear the motor assisting me already. So this will take us to 25 kilometers an hour. I'm also gonna do a bit of a brake test from 25. So we'll brake somewhere around here. So if you want, you can definitely lock that front and rear wheel. And I'll do another brake test in a second. The shifter also works quite good, no problems at all. So I'm happy that we don't have to adjust the shifter or anything like that. So let's do another brake test right here. So definitely good brakes, I can't really say anything bad about them. So that easy to ride this bike basically. So to quickly conclude this video, the F20 Pro here is a fairly unique bike, I'm gonna say. I also love the fact that it's easy to go on it because we have this step-through design, so the frame is nice and low, so it's easier to climb on the bike. The riding position is fairly comfortable because we have an adjustable in height handlebar. That's not the case with most bikes out there, so it is nice to see that we have that adjustable handlebar. I wish the seat here wouldn't have this extra play because of that folding mechanism. That folding mechanism doesn't really help for anything because you can easily remove the whole seat and then you can take out the battery. So that could have been removed in my opinion, and the suspension should have been a bit softer because it is a bit on the stiffer side, I'm gonna say. But overall, the build quality of this bike is better than most other bikes out there. Not to mention, the bike is very quiet whenever you are riding it, so no added noises from the fenders or from the brakes or anything like that. So I'm happy that this is a pretty quiet bike, I'm gonna say. So overall, pretty good build quality. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.